NATO believes that Russia has rehearsed an attack on Finland and the Baltics. In their opinion, the war in Ukraine has shown that Russia is ready to take significant risks. Iltaleti media outlet reports. NATO sources reported that Russia has rehearsed an attack on Finland and other countries on the eastern side of NATO. According to the sources, the defense report generally considers an attack by Russian troops on Finland, northern Norway, or the Baltics possible. The publication writes that the Russian attack was supposed to be the simultaneous work of several different units of the Russian army, and tens of thousands of Russian soldiers could be involved in the attack. In the north, the 14th Army Corps will attack the Norwegian coast from the direction of Murmansk from the sea, land and air. The Russians will land troops in Finnish Lapland. Russian missile forces deployed on the Kola Peninsula will also invade Finland, the publication sources said. NATO believes that in the event of an attack, Russia will try to create a buffer zone in northern Lapland and Finnmark in Norway, which will transfer the fighting to NATO territory. In March last year, the NATO Defence Alliance practiced deploying 20,000 troops in northern Norway and Finnish Lapland. And earlier this year, NATO conducted large-scale exercises near the Russian border. Last month, NATO's largest artillery military exercise, Lightning Strike 24, began in Finland. It is part of a series of exercises by NATO member states in Europe. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has previously emphasized his vision of reclaiming historical territories, citing the Russian Empire of the 17th century as an aspirational model. On December the 19th, Putin declared that Russia possesses the resources necessary to achieve this objective. Western experts advise taking these statements seriously, given their alignment with Russia's recent military activities and geopolitical actions. The Baltic states and Finland, NATO members with direct borders with Russia, remain particularly vulnerable to Moscow's ambitions. These nations are among NATO's top contributors to defense spending relative to GDP, reflecting their heightened security concerns. NATO will increase its military presence in the Baltic Sea after the damage to undersea cables. Alliance Secretary General Mark Rutte said on social network X after speaking with Finnish President Alexander Stubb. The first conflicts have begun between the Russian invaders and the North Korean military, who are fighting on the side of the Russian Federation against Ukraine, sometimes even ending in executions. The behavior of the Korean military shocked the Russian occupiers. For example, the Russians suffer from the careless handling of weapons by Korean soldiers. Language barriers and misunderstandings complicate interaction between the Russian and North Korean reckless behavior. For example, as it turned out, mercenaries from the DPRK are kept and trained separately from the Russians, while the DPRK soldiers have little theory but a lot of practice, although the North Koreans have the same dugouts but located separately. The second time I saw them was on the front line when they were fighting. There were many killed among them, many wounded, and even more alive. They are impudent people. They can take away an automatic rifle from an ordinary soldier, laments one of the Russian prisoners. In addition, it is emphasized that North Korean soldiers are thrown into battle first, followed by Russian soldiers. They say they are headless, that they don't care where to go or what to do, Russian prisoners said. According to a captured Russian, there was a case when the Koreans opened fire on Russian soldiers as they advanced into position. He also mentions an incident when a North Korean shot his brothers in the legs. I know they eat well. If they eat raw, smoked sausage, then the most delicious thing we ate was buckwheat porridge. Yes, they are supplied with everything. They have all the ammunition, the weapons are different, they all have 12th Kalash rifles, machine guns, and we only have AK-47s, says the Russian. Russian soldiers also complain about the careless handling of weapons by the Koreans. For example, there was a case when a bullet hit the instructor in the stomach. A separate problem for the Russians was the language barrier and misunderstandings with the DPRK soldiers.